Rabbi, welcome back to Yerushalmi Pesachim. We're holding a Samach test on the base. We are Yosem Sheshoftu Olav Apachopin. Yeah, so you've got an orphan. He's got two managers, and they both slaughtered a Kol Pesach for him. So where does he eat? Yerushalmi Masechet Pesachim Daf. So he can eat wherever he wants. Mas Nisa be Yosem Katan. Now this is with a Yosem who is young, and he can eat from any manager even without being appointed a part of the group. I'll be Yosem Gadol if he's an adult. As if he's put himself forward for two carbon Pesachs in one go, because probably he doesn't really care where he eats. He's happy with both, as if he's put himself into the groups of both. And that is what I'd like to tell you. He eats from the one that was slaughtered first. And that's when he fulfills his duty, and that's when his minui goes away, right? Then he gets removed from the second carbon. You can't be on more than one. Okay, we've also learned the following Mishnah about someone sells his servant, I'll go and check the carbon Pesach. He didn't say if he wants a kid goat or a lamb. Shachat Gedi, if the servant went and slaughtered a goat and also slaughtered a lamb, Yerushalmi and Emission, the master can eat from the first one. Since you're happy with both, since it's the first one, then you're included with the first one. So it's the same idea here. Now, a servant of two partners should not eat from either of them. Rabbi YCD, the master has no permission to tell him, I don't want you to be included in Kol Pesach. It was an Eved is Chayav Kol Pesach. He can say, I don't need to be on this one, only on that one. Right? Each of the partners says, I don't need to be on the Pesach of my partner, I want you to be on mine. So therefore the master has a schus la'akev, so basically he ends up, he can't eat from any of them. Sometimes a servant might be included in three. Right, one Pesach. Hey Chavida, what's the case? He's got two partners. The Eved has got two owners. He needs to be included on one of them. And the two Shutvin are paying for him. Now if afterwards now one of them has now freed his share. Now the previous carbon wasn't his; it was mutually from the expenses of both of them, right? And now the Eved can't fulfill his duty unless he's an Eved of both of them, but one is no longer around. So he needs to start getting included in another one and pay half the share of the carbon, and the shutaf who didn't free him will have to pay for the second half. And if afterwards Shechur Shneyan, now the second partner went and freed his share, again he'll have to go into another Kol Pesach and pay for the lot. So basically he's got included onto three Kol Pesach. Now if the first appointments, are they still around after he's freed? Maybe can he choose to eat them, Maybe can't fulfill his duty, he has to be appointed on the third one. But, or maybe, look, when he's freed, the previous ones have been removed. And you can't eat, you have to eat from the last one. Rabbi Yossi, if you're going to tell me you have to eat from the last one, the first two are null and void, you know what? Someone who's half servant, half free, shouldn't be included on a Kol Pesach, because the master might free him. Well, it might be mechuyev to free him for a mitzvah or whatever. But it's the hegdish pasul more about vaida, and part of the carbon is for the eved, which is pasul through the freedom of the eved, and that's mixed with the avodah of the carbon. And you've got a carbon which is partially brought for people not in the group. You see, the eved can be included in Kol Pesach. It must be the fact that the master can free him does not remove the approval, the minui, the appointment. So if an eved is appointed, let's say, on three carbon Pesachim, he can eat also from the first two. Rav Yaakov Bar Acham, Rav Zeraboy, Harav YCD. Can a master go? Can he fulfill his duty of carbon Pesach with a carbon which the servant made hektish? But it's clearly in the Mishnah. You tell your servant, go and check for me, and then the master can choose whichever animal. So you see, the Eved made it hektish, and it helps for the master. Masnisa, that's Mishnah is talking about where he made it hektish, the servant midas rabbi with the master's approval, and that's why it helps the master. What's the question? Shalom midas rabbi, without the approval of the master. Is that considered as if he's given him reshus to make it hektish as well? Very good question. We have no answer. Now, of course, the servant can only be mafresh from the master's possessions. He's got no money of his own. But it could be he has a reshus for it because the master's relying on him. Half servant and half free, he can't eat from the master. You remember the Mishnah in Gittin, someone who's half servant and half free. Now, the original takana was you work 1 day for the master, 1 day for himself. Before Beis Hillel over there come along and said, well, who's he going to marry, etc., etc., right? That's over there. Now, our Gemara holds this division affects also like the Masiyadayim, and not only the Masiyadayim, but even his body. The Yerushalmi has got a different approach to half Eved and half Ben Chayrin. Yerushalmi holds that on the days where he works for himself, he's a proper Ben Chayrin. He can Mekadesh a woman on that day. He can be married every second day. Yeah, the Yerushalmi holds that, right? Not like Bavli. Yerushalmi holds he can be married and he can divorce. On the day that he's his own. And the days where he serves the master, he's an Eved. Right? That's the Yerushalmi. We've seen that elsewhere. So the question is, what about this Eved now, if he's Mekadesh or Girish on the day of his own day? Now, if he's Mekadesh woman on the day where he serves, on the day where he's serving his master, ein choshin lekidushav. So someone said, and that means that's nothing. You Mekadesh a woman on the day when you're serving your master is nothing. Yeah? Won't get it is mashma like that. There is a Gemara is mashma that you can't be Mekadesh at all even on his own day. There's one get in Bavli, there's mashma you can't be Mekadesh even on his own day. Some say Kunter B'Yochanan, even his own day is nothing. There's no Kiddushin. He can't be Mekadesh woman on his own day. Yeah? All right. Some say it's all to do with becoming a shliach for giving a get for someone else. All right. Giresh, if he divorced a woman on the day when he was serving his master, in Choshen Negushim is nothing. Shmuel says, no, you have to worry about the Gerushin. So even on the day of his master, he's considered an Eved, but he's half Ben Chayrin. As Yid Shmuel Krem Yehuda, like Yehuda, Tatanim Tamad, we've learned in Sanhedrin, if you kidnap someone who's half servant and half free, Rabbi Yehuda Mechayiv, he says you're liable to the death penalty. Right? Me'achav, even someone who's only half a brother, right? Half a servant. They said, no, he's only a complete brother, not half a brother. So according to Yehuda, you consider Achav, so you're chayiv for kidnapping, so we're machmir that he's also called a brother as far as Gerushin is concerned. Halacha beis. I'm allowed to someone who tells the servant, say Shchoin to lie, so go and slaughter for me. Now you didn't say what animal you wanted. What did the servant go and do? Shochad Gedi. If he went and slaughtered a goat, Yochal, you can eat. Shochad Tzleh, he slaughtered a lamb, Yochal, you can eat it. Shochad Gedi or Tzleh, he did both. Yochal min harishon. He can eat from the first one because you can't be included on two. So you fulfill your duty with the first one and the second one disappears. If the master told him what to do, but then the servant forgot. Shachach ma'amal rabbi. Case he asked, what does he do? Yishcha gedish lei, shech both. If he said a goat, gedish alai, but essentially then the goat is his, the lamb is mine. In teleh rabbi, if he said the lamb, then the lamb is his and the goat is mine. And after that, he should ask the master, what did he say? And if it turned out Shachar Rabbi, the master also forgot. Let them both be burnt. Because we don't know which one was the master's, which one's the servant. They can't eat it out of doubts. It might be Pesach with the wrong people included. But Peturin Melasas Pesach Sheni, they don't have to bring one next time round. Tani Rabchia. I knew now Shnei Pesachim Ka'achas. You include it on two, and you don't care whichever. You can eat which one was slaughtered first. I'm Rabbi Yisrael, okay? We learned this in the Mishnah. If you shecht a goat and a lamb, and the master doesn't care, he eats from the first one. Rabbi Lazar they both said Rabbi Nasani. Now we said if the master forgot, then both animals need to be burnt, but they don't have to bring one next month. Tren Amid Rabbi Nasani. This is view of Rabbi Nasani. Rabbi Nasani, Yaitsin Bizrika, you fulfill your duty of Chol Pesach with the sprinkling on the Mizbech, even though you didn't eat it. So even though the meat wasn't fit to eat, right, according to Chachamim, if it's not fit to eat at the time of the sprinkling, you can't fulfill your duty. So here the master won't fulfill the duty. In the time of Hakrava, the master had forgotten what he said. The master forgot between sprinkling and eating. So even the Chachamim agree that the master and the servant can fulfill your duty, right? Because he only forgot after the sprinkling. Who have some say he himself. If the master forgot, Yishred Gedir Leshech, both of them. Shachach Rabbi Mabalai. Sorry. Shachach Mabalai. Sorry, the first, if the servant forgot, he does both. Shachach Rabbi Mabalai. Then the master forgot what he said. Now the servant forgot. That was before Shechita. And it must be probably, in the second case of the Mishnah, when the master forgot, there's probably the forgetting was before Shechita. So it can't be, it must be therefore that our Mishnah is only a view according to Reb Noson's Shitta. Right? They must be forgot before Shechita. And that's like Reb Noson. We quoted Reb Noson. He said, you'll fulfill your duty if it's sprinkling, everything's fine. Yeah, as long as sprinkling's fine, you don't have to bring again. So here is, the master must have forgot the Shechita was before Shechita. So it can only be according to the Shitta of Reb Noson. He says here, according to Reb Noson, the korban was postled before Shechita, and it's still kosher. Okay, so what our Reb Yochanan said, there's a new piece now. A guy who becomes a Jew. So he separates Korban Pesach before he goes through Gerus. But in his Gaia, then he becomes a Ger. Or whenever Kanani, before he was freed, when he got freed. So a child separated a korban before he was adult, and now he's showing signs of puberty. In all these cases, he needs to be included on another korban pesach. The previous hafrosha was pushed away. You can't be mafresh again, the same animal that was holy once and got pushed away, you can't offer it up later. Now, we brought Reb Noson. You can fulfill your duty even if the korban wasn't fitting to eat at the time of Zrika. And he brings the Gemara another din. Rav Yudah, Karlas Veikos. You got a case of doubt. People got doubts. They doubt to bring Pesach Sheni. Rav Noson in on. They're all according to the view of Rav Noson. He says you can fulfill your duty even if the korban can't be eaten. But according to the Chachamim, since the korban is asur by eating because of the suffix, you don't fulfill your duty and you have to do Pesach Sheni. Chutz min azorek dam chatasu dam hashamai. Someone is mechusa kapara, right? 14th of Nisan, close to sunset, and he's sprinkling his chatos blood or his asham blood, so he can eat that evening from the Korban Pesach. But Savik Balayla Zarak, Savik Bayom Zarak. We don't know. Did he sprinkle at night or during the day? And the korban's only kosher if the sprinkling is done in the day. Naasek Safik Kapara is like a chatos where the blood is sprinkled just close to sunset. We don't know, was the blood before night or not. Of a Savik Kapara, now if you've got a suffix like this, Kippur, he's got forgiveness. We say, yeah, the blood was sprinkled in the daytime. And he can eat Korban Pesach. So even the Chachamim agree, you don't have to bring it next month, because the Korban Pesach is fitting to be eaten. Okay. Halacha Gimel. Someone who's going up to Yerushalmi, he says to the children, and they're behind him, he says, I'm filtering for the first one that gets there. The first one gets the majority of his body within Yerushalayim. He is the one who's got the first share. And then the other people also acquire it at the same time. He's acquiring it on behalf of everyone else. You can never be included. That's for every person to eat. You can join up, and you can cancel your joining. Until it is slaughtered. After it's slaughtered, you can't get out of it. Shimon said, until the blood is sprinkled. Rav Yochanan, now he said a person shechting for the first one to get to Yerushalayim. Let's kind of really shechting. No, it doesn't mean I'm shechting it for the first one that comes up. Because if he does that, the other children can't be included. Because you can't be included after Shechita. And what he means is, I'm setting it aside. Why say I'm shechting it then? He wants to encourage them all. They should think he's only shechting for the first one, and they'll all hurry to try and get there. Now, you can be included on the Kom Pesach till it gets slaughtered. And even though it's meant already remain holy, as long as it's not slaughtered. So one person can be separating an animal for Kom Pesach, and the other person is setting aside money to buy a Kom Pesach. You hear this? This is a business transaction here. One is setting aside an animal for Kom Pesach. The other one is setting aside money to buy one. And the one who's setting aside the animal receives the money. And now he can put the other one on his Kom Pesach. By me receiving the money, I can include you on my Kom Pesach. And the money will end up being chulin. Now this animal is already holy. And the money was already holy before the appointment. But the appointment is chal, and the money goes to chulin. You hear that? So one guy sets aside an animal. Another guy says, I want to find a Kom Pesach to be part of. So you give him money. The animal's already holy. But you can still give him money to have a share in this Kom Pesach, and the money becomes chulin. Now how's this working here? Is it part of the korban now? Now does the korban go become chulin and then holy again? Or maybe lekachik dishu, maybe they made it holy, Kom Pesach Mishav Rishon. That was the intention all along, that it will be chal if someone wants to be included in it. What's the difference? Hifish mea money lepischa. Imagine you set aside 100 money for Kom Pesach, al chamishim, and someone was included with a value of 50 in the korban. You're going to tell me chulin. It went chulin, holy again. Why is hektish? The rest of the money, then you're paying more. Is 100. You use 50 to buy your share. The remaining money is hektish. In time, you're going to tell me that the appointment was chal, the kachi dishum shavishayda. That was the intention all along. The money that was huktish for tonight, that if you'll be included in an animal, it won't be holy. Then Shabbos chulin hen, and any other money won't be holy. Rabbi Yaakov bar Acham, he said, "True bar Ababai, Hagas machal shehimna isa achinam." Well, what about if the owner of the animal gave you a share for nothing? Then what happens with the money? Ma'aslach, what are you going to say there? You're going to tell me the appointment is coming Yosel Chulin by part of the animal going to Chulin, but Chayz becoming holy again through the money? You didn't give any money. How can the whole korban become holy again? It must be Yitzchal, because that's what was the intention all along. Milen Rabban Amri, from the words of the Chacham, we can see that the part that you're included on, any Yosel Chulin Chayz Kaddish, it's not it's the Chulin and then back to Kaddish. No, it remains holy all along. Tamad Tanina, because we've learned in Tzmura. Now this is a person gives a zayna, a whore, money. If you give money for the act, you're allowed to use that money to buy karbonos. It's not esnan zayna. It's not a gift for a whore. Right? The matter that's given for the issur. But here, if you're swapping it for something else, the other thing is kosher for the mizbeach. When you pay money, and she buys an animal with that money, that korban is mutter. If however, you gave yenas, shmanim, wine, oils, lots of flour, anything which that equivalent could go on the mizbeach, like fuel, salt, ketores, also, you mustn't put it on the mizbeach. Nasa la mugdashin, if you give things which are holy, they are permitted to go on the mizbeach. Now, Rav Shimon ben Lakish, the manner Isa is talking about a case where our Pischa v'Chagigasa. So it's a case where what? He's including her on his Pesach and his Chagiga. So now the Mina is Chal, the animal's not forbidden as Esnan. If he gives other Hekdesh things, then of course they don't become Esnan, because you can't really give them over for acquisition at all. Ada Amra, from Shlokish we see, the part that you included on, any Yetzel Chulim Chayz v'Kodesh, no, it's holy from the very beginning. Because in temple she goes to Chulim Chayz v'Kodesh, if it became Chulin and then holy again, then the part of the Zaina and the korban wasn't holy when you gave it. It should be a problem of giving a gift to a whore. It must be that the part of the korban given to a Zaina is holy from the beginning. Therefore, it's not also as giving it to a Zaina. Parsalam, the other thing says no. Let's say even if the part of the korban where he paid her, it wasn't mukdash beforehand, But as soon as he gives it, it's holy, it becomes heavenly Rechus Shamayim. It never really went into her Reshus. So we shouldn't forbid it as Esnan because it never really went into her domain. Teda Lacha, proved to you, Tadin Tamar, we've learned in the Dorim. Now remember, a person says a vow, I don't want Shimon to get benefit from me. Now, Reuven says that. Reuven is allowed, you're allowed to bring various bird offerings for him, for Shimon. Now why are you allowed to do that? Because they never went into Shimon's hand. Reuven did this, they never went into Shimon's hand. Offering a carbon is not considered giving money. So here as well, the case of the Zaina, why the appointment on the carbon is not a problem of a gift to a Zaina, but never really went over to her. Her right to a carbon is not giving her a monetary right. Okay? Rabbi Yaakov Arach Rabbi Ibi. It's Paragon Rabbi Shlokish. Chadam said, Mekachin. Now this is bringing, can you make an animal hektish on Yom Tov? One opinion says, yes, you can. One says you can't. One of the cases in Rivashin, they explain. You can make an animal holy, but on Yom Tov. You can't. Some say, if Erev Pesach was Shabbos, you haven't got an animal, you go to the sheep owner, the sheep shop, and you take a lamb. Now you don't use an expression of kinyan. You don't mention a price. You can't do that. Mekach memki, you can't do that. And you make the animal holy on Shabbos. Some say you go to those people who are selling Pesachim who've already made the animals holy. You take one, you get included, and you don't have to make it holy on Shabbos because it's already holy. Man, the one says the one says you go to the chulin shop. Commander Abba Magdishin, the one says you can make it holy on Shabbos. So if you can buy a chulin animal, one says you go to the holy animal shop. Commander Abba he holds you can't make it hektish on Shabbos or Yom Tov, and therefore you have to go and buy one. You have to get one which is already holy. Ada Amra, this tells me that you can't make it holy, but you're allowed to be included on Kom Pesach, which is already holy. Right? And the part of the carbon that you're included in, any to the chulin, it didn't go to chulin before the appointment, because it became holy again. It stayed holy all along. Because in if it went moved back and forward, you won't be able to acquire it on Shabbos. Even for Pesach was already holy because the Magdish, you'll make it holy again. If you tell me the holiness went away and come back again with your action, then you'll make it holy. You can't do that. Or Tanina, we've learned in Magdishin, you cannot make. We've learned actually in Beitza, you can't make an animal holy on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Rav Chanina Rav Mono, they said Chadam, one said that is but Magdish, your Magdish an animal on Shabbos and Yom Tov for tomorrow, Lamacha. And Rav Yochanan allowed it for what you need today. Just like other korbanos are brought on Shabbos, the Tamid, that's allowed. And the other one said, but Magdish leberek habayis. The Mishnah forbade it when you're making things hekdesh for the treasury fund. They're going to hekdesh reshus. It's mekach and memka. It's also on Shabbos and Yom Tov. If Yochanan allowed animals, yes, they go to hekdesh, but they're like your korban. So hekdesh doesn't have full rights in it, and therefore it's this hekdesh was not fossil because of mekach and memka transactions and so on Shabbos. So it depends. Is it your animal is being offered? Maybe that's not a problem, right? Now, we said the first version of the Brisa, it's like the opinion who holds you're allowed to be Magdish an animal on Yom Tov. So the Gemara brings the Yishul, Rav Shama, even if you hold you can't make an animal holy on Shabbos and Yom Tov, we can explain the Brisa, but Magdish Ba'azara. We said you're going to the guy of Chulin, the Chulin shop, right? You're making hektish in the Azara. Rishlakish agrees you can be Magdish Chulin on Shabbos because the Isur is Shavus, which is Sheitiru B'Mikdash. It's a Drabanan problem, and the base Mikdash is allowed. Right? That's why it's allowed. Now, we said you can leave the animal until it's shechting. But Shimon said until they sprinkle the blood. Where do I know that you need to be included in Kom Pesach Talmud Lema? It says in Lakachu Ashchena, etc. Mirchas Nefashos. But Mirchas Nefashos that Kom Pesach must be eaten by those of his group. You can only be included till Shchita. Ne'emar Kan, it says here, Whenever in Mitzrayim it says each person should take a seh. Master Shenema Mitzrayim, just like in Egypt, Chai was a living animal, below Shachar not slaughtered. Our seh Shenema Khan, Chai below Shachar. You can only be included while it's alive. Master Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon hold you can cancel cancellation till sprinkling. He says, look, if some of the people who are in the group died between the shchita and the sprinkling, ben shchita lizrika, shema ein about it. When you think the other owners can't get a kapara with this, they can. The carbon is possible only if all the people have died. So ma ben meisu, what's the difference if someone's died and ma ben moshre ma lim is in middle? People have gone to another group. Just like a carbon is not possible when some of the group have died before sprinkling. So it's not possible if some of the people cancelled their agreement, part of the group, before sprinkling. And since the carbon is not possible, you can carry on. They're allowed to remove away even after shchita. Right? Halacha dalet. If one of the group brings others in with his share, without asking reshus from everyone, he's like bringing others. So one of the group, he sort of brings others in on his share without asking, without checking with the rest. The rest of the group can give him his share, and you, all your friends, you eat your share. The rest of the group eat from their group. Right? You'll end up might be eating with two groups. So he will eat his share. You take your share, and all your guests, you make your own group, they're telling him. You take your share, you make your own group. Now, what about if the group can say to someone to take his share and he would go and eat elsewhere? Charming, isn't it? One of the group had a big hand. Rabbi said, what does it mean he had a big hand? It meant he was a greedy eater. So now, they can tell him, you know what, take your share and run. Just take a bit here and go. Not only upon Pesach, also sinbul, a chulin meal. They're all, what's it you call it? But they all share equally in the cost. What do you call it, that language? The Dutch.
Dutch is Indian.
What? No, it's where they all share the costs equally. You say it with your siyams, you use some phrase. And one of them is hurrying to eat a lot. But they say, go, take your share and go. If at the time when they brought him into the group, look, they knew what it was like. Then look, they made a condition from the beginning they were going to take him as he is. Now, what about someone who said, I'm not going to add anyone into my group? He separates us a lamb. He says, look, no one's joining me. No one can join him. Right? Even if the owners will change their mind and so on. But if he separates an animal stam without any conditions, then he can add people. Because anyone who comes later, it's like as if they were there from the beginning. You basically set aside an animal for anyone who's going to join. So they're all considered included at the time of Hafrosha. Rabbi Yaakov Aracham Shem Zira. Masnisa Amrokain. Is that what it says in the Brisa? The Brisa says, the people including the carbon are reducing. They can be mevatel their appointments one after the other, and the animal's still kosher. There must be still there at least one of the first group. And another one. There must be at least two from the original group. And even those that say who appointed themselves, who joined after the Hafrosha. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, he says the people who included can be mevatel their positions, and the animal is kosher as long as there's like one guy left on there. You don't need two. Bein Minashayna, whether it's from the first group, Bein Minashniya, sort of from the second group. They shouldn't leave without anyone included, because then it'll be possible. Now in Tema, you're going to tell me like Rav Huda, anyone who wants to come included later on, it's like that from the beginning, then Heim B'nei Chabur Rishayna, Heim B'nei Chabur Shniya. So basically the first group or the second group, basically the second group, unlike the first group. Those who are included Achala Mafreya from the time of Hafrosha. Now, Rabbi Yehuda makes a chiluk between the first group and the second group. Why? When they come and join, as if they were there from the beginning. It must be those who are included after Hafrosha are not like those who were there from the beginning. And the reason they are be able to be included even after the animal is holy is only because of Gezeras HaKosov, basically. That's why they can still be included after they were Makadesh the animal. Ma'anafik Beneh. So basically they're arguing, if someone's included later on, are they like they were included from the beginning? I'm going to bring an argument. Ma'anafik Beneh. What's an African Beneh between them? I'll tell you. Hifrish, imagine a person sets aside a lamb, the Pischai, on Mashach Yadav. He removed himself from it. So the covenant has no one on it. And now someone else is on this lamb. The animal's kosher. Because now the one who's included joins as if he was there all along. So there were two people at the beginning, not one, because there was one there. One comes later as if he was there all along. So there was never no one on this animal. The other one being appointed didn't start from the beginning, it was from later on. And the time when the first owner goes away, there's no one on this animal, therefore it's possible. So as long as no one else is on it, it's like one person on this animal. Now, although later on there might be other people, but it's not chal only from when they join. But before that, it was like hektish of an individual. Hektish yachid oiseh tzemura. If the owner went and transferred the holiness onto another animal, it's got a din tzemura. Because at that time, it was an individual's hektish. Hektish of an individual can be transferred along. According to Rav Chuna, when others are included, as if they were there all along, hektish shutvinu. It's as if it belonged to partners all along. But ain't hektish shutvinu oiseh tzemura. You won't be able to transfer any holiness onto another animal. You hear that? So, according to one opinion, when people join later, as if they were there from the beginning. So there were a few people involved. So you can't start transferring Kedusha onto another animal. According to the other opinion, no. When they come later, they come later. You had a period of time when there was no one. And no one would be possible. Now another machlokes between Rav Chuna and Rav Zira. Nimnu alav mea b'nei adam ka'achas. 100 people were on this carbon at the same moment. Right? He says, even so, it wasn't really like the same time, but not in one go, but one after the other. 100 people. Rav Chuna, he said, Miesh kazayis kol echad ve'echad. If you got kazayis for each one, kosher, it's okay. V'im lav, and if not, it's possible. So an animal is not kosher unless each one's got kazayis for every person to eat. Rav Zira. He said the animal is not possible until Malkim sheyesh kazayis kol echad ve'echad b'hem kosher. So as long as all the people who were originally there was still a kazayis for each of them, the animal's kosher. So who have we got? We've got different opinions. Rav Chuna said, you need a kazayis for every person. Right? Rav Zira said, no, it's only possible you need all those originally there. You needed to have a kazayis. The imlav, but those who come later on, now there's no kazayis, then possible the animal's possible. They won't fulfill their duty. So basically, Rav Zira holds, each one is appointed from when they are appointed, one after the other. So the carbon is kosher for the original people, because when they were included, there was a kazayis for each one. The people who come later, there's no meat for them, so they can't be included. You hear that? There's no meat left. They can't be included. Rav Chuna holds, all the people who come Pesach as if they started from the beginning. And it's as if they're all included, all 100 in the beginning in one go. And since there's not enough for them to eat, it's possible for all of them. But Tani learns in the Brisa, okay, Nimnu alav, if they're included on a carbon b'chazru, Nimnu alav, and then more people go included. Then now you don't have a kazayis for everyone. Malkum sheyesh kazayis kol echad ve'echad mehem kosher. Until an area where you have a kazayis for each one, then it's okay. So they were included at the time, there was still a kazayis for each one, the animal's kosher. Nim lav, but those who join later, there's no meat left for them, then the carbon is possible. Okay. All right, we'll carry on a few more lines, yeah. Zav shavash te'riyos. Now remember, someone who's tamei when they bring the Korban Pesach, they're going to be tahor that evening. So you got a zav who has two omissions. He has to keep 7 days. He doesn't have to bring a carbon. Shechtin alav b'yeshvi. So we will slaughter Korban Pesach for him on Erev Pesach. It is his day 7 of his 7 clean days. Now he's not fitting to eat kodshim, and really you should only shech for someone who's fitting to eat it, but he will eat it tonight. So we'll shech for him on the 7th day. Rosh Shalosh, if he had 3 emissions, now he has to keep 7 days and bring a korban on day 8. Shechtin alav v'shmini, we will shech for him on his day 8, if that's Erev Pesach. Yeah, and even though he's not yet brought his korbanos, but he will bring it that day. Or that day he'll bring it, day 8. V'chein, a woman who has 1 riyah and the days of her siba, she's got a din of she has to keep 1 day against the 1 day. Shechtin alav, we will shecht for her b'sheni on the 2nd day, the day she's keeping for her cleanliness, if that's Erev Pesach. Because she'll be fitting to eat Korban Pesach this evening. Rosh Yamim, if she saw blood for 2 days and she has to keep a 3rd day clean, Shechtin alav b'shlishi, we will slaughter for her Korban Pesach on the 3rd day, which is Erev Pesach, because she can eat that evening. Hazava, that's a Zava Gedaila, who saw blood on 3 days. The din is she has to count 7 days Nakim and bring a Korban Ziva. Shechtin alav, we slaughter for her b'shmini on her 8th day, if that's her Pesach, and she'll bring a Korban Ziva before it gets dark, and she can eat in the evening. Tari Rechila, Nida, Shechtin alav b'shmini, then he does, we will shecht for her on her day 8. Then she'll be fitting to eat kodshim the night, which is the 9th night. But we're not going to shecht on day 7, she's not yet fitting to eat kodshim at night. She can't eat kodshim on 8th night. Baal Nida, the one who is with the Nida, Shechtin alav, we will slaughter for him b'shvi on his day 7, because he'll be fitting to eat kodshim on the 8th night. This tells me Baal Nida will be tar through tefillah on Bayam Shvi on his day 7, therefore he can eat kodshim on his 8th night. It's not like a Nida, where she tables on the 8th night, and she can't eat kodshim until the 9th night. Okay. Now we're talking about the din, various cases of chashash, a person was not fitting to eat Korban Pesach at night, and we still slaughter him. So ha'ainen, le'aleinu, someone who's lost a relative before burial, and fakech bagal, he's breaking a mound to see if someone's buried underneath. He doesn't know, will he find someone alive, dead? He's been promised by his captors they'll take him out of prison, based in Surin. A sick person, an elderly person, they can eat we shech for them. It could be they won't eat. An einaid might become tamei, mace. And one covering a mound, going through a mound, maybe there'll be a mace there. And he'll be mahil on the mace, and the time someone else is in prison, he might not get released. The elderly person might be sick, won't be able to eat. We do shech for them, because as things start standing now, they are fitting to eat. But al-kulan, and all of them, ain't shech and alem husband. Look, we're not going to shech just for them. We only do it together with others in a group. Shalai view is a pasal le'debsol. We don't end up passing after having no one part of it. Levicha. Therefore, if at the time of shechita they were fitting, later on there was a problem, they don't have to bring again. Except for the one going through the mound, and he finds a dead body, where he doesn't feel the duty, he has to do it next month, because it now comes out he was tummy all along. There was a dead body there all along. You were on top, you didn't know. Now we said about someone who's in prison and he'll be let out. Now who will let him out? So it's a Tumah case, Yisrael, Jewish people captured him. They promised they'll let him out. So we believe them. You can't trust them. Now, what about someone who's in captive? He's been promised to go. That's only Benas and Chutz Yerushalayim. He's captured outside Yerushalayim, so if he doesn't get freed, he's not going to eat. If he's in Yerushalayim, I feel alive tichu. If they didn't promise him that they'll release him, Kamishiv tichu, as if they did. You can shecht for him. Even if they don't let him go out, he can still bring the kompasa, they can bring it to him, and he can eat it. It's in Yerushalayim. Rabbi Yoina, Rabbi Yossi trail on, they both said, we in the beginning, we used to say, Yisrael, Arel, Yisrael has not had a bris. Shechtin, we slaughter Korban Pesach, then he has a bris, and he can eat it that night. But the truth is, we weren't right. It's not right. You shouldn't shacht for Yisrael who's an Orel at all. Tana Rasim Bazar, Tikkun Ravina. Ne'emakan, with the bris of the males, it says, Oz Yikrabla. So first with the bris, then you can bring. V'ne'emalan, it says with the servant, Evedish, you give him a bris, Oz Yochabo. Then we learn. So there's Gzer Shabbat, then he can eat. Gzer Shabbat, the word Oz. Ma'oz, Shne'emalan, just like the one with the servant. He can't eat kasha until he's had a bris. B'shas time of eating. It's not enough he will have a bris. No, he has to have had a bris. That one Shne'emakan, with the mila of your males, you can't shach to come Pesach ad sheyeh kasha. You have to have a bris b'shas shchita at the time of slaughtering. It's not enough that you're going to have a bris later on. Now all these people, you can shach to come Pesach, and then there's the psul. They don't have to keep Pesach Sheni, because the time when you brought the carbon they were kosher, except for the one who is digging through a mound. Yeah. Sometimes the one who's digging a mound is like other cases in the Mishnah, who's part of Pesach Sheni. And sometimes he is like them. And he has to bring Pesach Sheni. So there are cases he's part of. It depends on the shape of the mound. But Gal Aruch, basically, you're not going from the top, you're going from the side. It could be a time of Shechita, you hadn't reached where the dead body was. Then therefore, the blood was sprinkled. He hasn't reached the dead body yet. He's fulfilled his duty. He doesn't have to bring next month. And Parabim, there are times, Begal Ogul, if he's a mound which is a round mound and he's right on top, he was mile on the base from the beginning, he's Chai Pesach Sheni. Yeah, there are times where the other case in Mishnah Chai Pesach Sheni, like the one doing the mound. If a problem happened with them between Shrita and Zrika, then they are like the one who is doing the mound. It's Chai Pesach Sheni. And they will also be Chai to bring Pesach Sheni. Because at the time of sprinkling, they were not fitting to eat in the night. Okay? To be continued, Rabbi Sai.